moving from the sampler, we're going to move over here. This is your tempo fader. I'll give you an example. This one's self-explanatory. Basically, it changes the tempo of the song. How fast or slow. We're slowing it up and speeding it up. That's basically all that does. Go back to hot cue. And these two buttons are your pride and joy of the whole console. Okay? The cue button. Basically, anywhere in playback, once you have stopped, you hit the cue. That'll be a new spot where this button would activate. It's kind of like a hot cue, but it won't go back to that spot unless you have it kind of saved in that position. All right, so for example, I have it set to the start of this song. If I play it, it's gonna stop and go back to that position. Let's say I'm way down here, it's gonna stop and go back to that first position when you hit Q. But if you're in playback and you stop it, say, let's go to B, stop it there and hit Q, that's now your new save spot. So Q basically is a spot you can come back to if you need to. And play and pause is of course to start and stop the music. You have to set it in the music to get that vinyl stop. You have to set it in your program for that. I had it set up because that's the way I like it. Okay, now we get into the fun part, the shift button. Okay, it's not really that fun. I just wanted to sound fancy. Okay. All right, so basically shift kind of gives everything a secondary function. So I'll start from the beat sync. Oh, I did forget to mention beat sync. This is basically to sync up your song. So I'll just give you a quick preview of that. You press that, start this one. You see how it's off? That's what it does. It just matches the tempo and matches the BPM so that once the song is playing on both sides, it should match up and sound relatively good together when it's playing. But you do want to match your first beats to your first beats if possible, or match your drum beats so that it makes sense in the song. Okay? But now when we hit shift, it becomes tempo range. So basically in the program, what that does is, if you'd have your program on, you'd see the tempo range change. Like I have mine now at 6, 10, 16, and wide. I use Rekordbox, and that's how that works in this program. So basically it changes how wide and how far you can stretch a song basically. So now that I have it set to wide, this is the maximum for any song. I can go from as slow as I can to as fast as it'll let me go. So now we can go all the way down to 0, where the song's not even playing. And basically it goes to twice the tempo of the song to complete nothing. That's how wide it goes. All right. The next one is going to be your cue memories. So what this is completely separate from your loop function. It's like creating a cue point that your system knows to go back to basically. So say you had a cue right at A again. Say you didn't have hot cues and you just wanted to set a point to remember this is where I want to be. Think of it as markers basically. So you'd set your cue point, you'd hit shift, and right here where it says memory, it'll make a little red flag at the top of it. Let me move over here for those who can see it. Right there. You see now there's a flag there. All it does is set memory points, but they only can be set on bars. That's the thing. You can't set one just anywhere. And it has to be out of playback. It does not work when the music's playing. So you stop, hit your cue point, hit shift, and then you hit the right side. That creates your memory cue. After that, in order to delete these markers, you press shift and you hit the back button, and those markers go away. I didn't show you exactly how cue works, but let's do that real quick, and then I'll make another one down here real quick. And basically you can skip ahead, skip forward and ahead. I have to hit Q, and that's how you jump between your markers. Okay, all right, then we'll delete this one, we'll go back, delete that one, and go back to that. Okay, the next thing on shift, it's going to be active loop. With activate loop, I haven't really figured that one out yet, but I will update you once I figure out the function of active loop. To be honest with you, I'm not completely sure myself. Now we're gonna shift into these guys down here, the fun stuff. We already seen hot cue through sampler. Now when we hit shift, hot cue becomes keyboard, beat loop becomes pad effects, beat jump becomes pad effect 2, and sampler becomes key shift. This is where you get a little bit more creative with the pads. Okay, so let me turn off this loop. I'm gonna go ahead and activate the keyboard. Note on the side, with some of these, they have secondary options, or they have pages. In order to go through those pages, you see how those two are lit up? You can scroll through your pages with these two bottom ones. But that's when the shift is activated. That's the only secondary function I know of now that happens with the keypad, with the pads. Okay, so now we're in keyboard mode. As you can see, it kind of pitches around that first sound that you're basically on or cued to at the moment. It'll just keep pitching around on it. But if you hold it too long, it'll keep playing the song. So it's something to play with. I tell you to go enjoy yourself, figure how that one works for you, but I'm just giving you an example of how everything works here. All right, so we'll go to Pad Effects 1. All right, so in your program, you should have a list of different effects that was already applied to it unless you change it. So I have roll, sweep, flanger, and V-break on the top 4. And I have some other ones on the bottom, but this is just to show you that they're just effects that you can use at any time. You see that sweep? And that's basically what that does, okay? It's going to be the same thing for Pad Effects 2, it's just another set of effects for the most part. This one's going to be more of like looping and rolls, more so. Stuff like that. And last but not least is key shift. This is one of my favorite to play with. I usually don't make any sense of it, but this is going to continue as playback continues, not like on keyboard where you kind of set to that sound and you're just pressing that sound. This will be as the song is playing, it'll change the pitch. Beautiful, wonderful, ain't it? Okay,